Hi, Mom. Thanks for joining us.
You're
On
welcome.
your 50th anniversary of your wedding, we thought it would be great to hear how it all started from you. So, Ann and I have decided to interview you and Dad to kind of hear how it all happened and how it all began. So, I'll let Ann start asking some questions.
So, Mom, tell us about the story of how you and Dad first met.
Good afternoon, Dad. Thanks for joining us today. Ann and I are here to congratulate you on 50 years of marriage and to hear a little bit about how you guys met, mostly directly out of your mouth. So we did something separate with Mom, and now it's your turn, and then we'll do the great reveal at the party tomorrow. So wanted to just kick it off and just hear a little bit about the story about how you and Mom first met and your courting in your early years.
Okay, be happy to oblige you.
Well, we were both going to Vanderbilt University, and it was in summer school, 1966, when I was taking organic chemistry so I could get a better grade. And I often studied in the research library part of the big Vanderbilt library.
Well, Mom and I first met one day when we were both studying in the graduate reading room of the university library. It was a nice, quiet place to study with big desks, big wooden desks. So we both liked that.
And they had these big slanted desks where you actually could smoke in there. And so I was studying in there, and I noticed this good-looking guy that was right next to me, and he was fidgeting around, and he said to me, "Do you have something I can write with?" So,
Lost my pen or couldn't find my pencil.
Did you really lose your pen, or you just were you looking for a reason?
To be honest, I really can't say. It could go either way. It wasn't solely motivated by the need for a writing instrument. So anyway, I just asked her if she had a pencil that I could borrow, and she did. And so that's how we first met.
he obviously, his ink was all out of his pen. I said, "Sure, I've got one." So we studied a while longer, and I don't know, I don't remember too much interaction, but we must have gotten talking. And he said, "Well, would you like to go out tonight?" And I said, "Oh no, I've got choir practice." And it was on campus there, and this was the first practice, so I didn't know how long it was going to be. So I said, "Well, I've got choir practice, but let me guess when would be ready." So I gave him a time, and I lived in a dorm, so the practice went a lot longer than I thought.
As I recall, it was fairly rapid. We cooked up something for that very day, and Mom had something to do that evening. I think she was in a university choir that was going to practice that afternoon, and so it must have been late in the afternoon when we were supposed to meet. And I was waiting for her over at the women's dorm on campus,
Mm-hmm.
and she didn't show up.
And I was really getting antsy. So by the time we finally let out, I really went into a run to go back to the dorm, fully expecting him not to wait. I mean, I didn't know him for very long at all.
And she didn't show up. And I waited and waited, and no Mary. But finally she did come and explain what had happened, and that was okay by me.
But there he was. So he was still in the dorm lobby and didn't act like he was, ticked or anything. So he had an older car, so we drove downtown Nashville, and he had a place he wanted to eat called the Gerst House, a German place.
There was a place in downtown Nashville that I like to eat at called the Gerst House. And the guy who ran the restaurant was named Bill Gerst, and he used to have a brewing company called the Gerst Brewing Company. And the thing that was really neat about having a drink at the Gerst House was that it was served in these large mugs, really heavy mugs that were typically frozen before they poured the beer in. So I had always wanted to have one of those mugs, just to have as a souvenir.
Then when we walked in, there was this really neat bar of some kind of neat wood with a big glass window all along the back of it, or a mirror. And I noticed all these mugs. It was a real beer kind of place, but they also served food. So we sat in a booth and ordered some kind of German food. I don't know, Wiener Schnitzel.
So I had always wanted to have one of those mugs, just to have as a souvenir. But they wouldn't sell them.
Then we each got a beer, and it came in this big, heavy glass mug. And so he asked the waiter if we could ever buy one of those mugs. And he said, no, we just don't have that many of them. So that was that. So we ate and we enjoyed our beer. And I guess one thing in this story I forgot to tell you is that it was a rainy night. And I had on one of those old-fashioned kind of London fog type raincoats, very roomy. And he didn't know what was going on. But by the time we got in the car, I pulled out from inside my raincoat one of those lovely heavy glass mugs.
Mom didn't say anything about what she was doing, but I noticed as we were packing up to leave, she picked up the mug and kind of tucked it under her raincoat.
Did you notice her do that?
Yeah, I noticed her. I did notice her, and I thought, well, gee, that was kind of in a state of shock. But when we got out, we made our getaway, and when we were far enough away from Bill's restaurant, she pulled out the mug and gave it to me. And I thought, wow, no one had ever been willing to steal like this from me. So that was really wonderful, and I was really blown away.
Quite a first impression.
It was, but of course it was nothing like the truth. The truth is she's a very honest person and wouldn't steal anything from anybody. But she sure had me convinced that this was some very interesting woman that I had here.
And he was absolutely astounded. And he didn't say it, but I know from what he said in the afterwards, many years later, he said he really thought I was going to be pretty cool because I was able to do that heist and create it and produce it. And so we did have other dates after that, but that first one was pretty remarkable.
And that mug we certainly knew very well at home of holding the extra change on top of the refrigerator, right?
Indeed. It was a source of much of our income in our youth.
Yes. And of where Dad didn't know where his keys were. They were typically up there.
That's right, in the mug. Yes, and we've brought it with us here today.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Mom, can you tell us anything about kind of your favorite qualities about Dad?
Well, I think probably the thing that has helped me the most is that there were times in rearing 4 children that I just didn't have the answers to handle the discipline. And he went to school for a long time and so often wasn't there. So he would give me counseling sessions, and I never could think on my feet. So he said, well, what you do is you just have them go to their room and give you some think time. And so it was times like that that I was really glad that he was a psychologist by profession, because he really was a help. And sometimes I had, later when I was teaching, and all of a sudden went back to teach, and I had not really been prepared, and I was going to teach 6th, 7th, and 8th, English and reading. He said, just planned for the first day. And so that was, you know. And also he would say, don't smile to Christmas. That way I could handle the students if they gave me any trouble. So that, you know, being able to be a good counselor. And the other thing I think that is really good about him is he's a good listener. And oftentimes we might disagree in, you know, the way we want to do something. But he will listen and he will change. And, you know, I will too. But he's gotten very adaptable that way, so we don't have to, you know, we don't just butt heads and stick to our guns. And the other thing I'd have to say is I really appreciate his intellect and his ability to, I call it play with numbers and charts, but he really is good at handling things, and he knows how to write things in a way that really sounds good. But he's not much of a speller, so I can help him out in that way.
So tell us a little bit more about you know, some of the qualities that you most admire about Mom, and some of the things that you know, you know, that kind of drew you to her initially, and kind of the things you've come to appreciate over time.
Okay, well, I think one thing about Mom is she's definitely a people person. She's really interested in people, and likes to be helpful, likes to understand people, and you know, that's something I've seen in her throughout, you know, all her life.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing about Mom is that she's very industrious. You know, she likes to be busy. She likes to be doing things, and when she likes to do things, and well, actually, you know, she likes me to be doing things with her. So there's this constant undercurrent of, you know, maybe a conflict between my wishing to read a book or, you know, watch something on TV, and her wanting to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we probably worked out a reasonable relationship in terms of how we decide what to do with ourselves.
So 50 years,
Yes.
quite an achievement. So congratulations.
Thank you.
So what, for the younger folks in the room, which hopefully there are a few, what would you say, you know, some of the things that have given you that longevity when so many, you know, can't say they've gotten to that achievement level?
I think a lot has to do, they always say communication, but I think it's the teamwork that it goes into raising kids and getting used to each other. And I think that we've been able to work through things and hear each other out. And that's kind of like one of the most important things that we've been able to do, is we don't get, we sometimes have mad times, but they don't last too long, you know. So that, I think that is probably the best advice. And it seems like I had another one that advice I would give. And I can't remember it.
Maybe you have to give it to somebody as you go around to the table.
Yes,
this afternoon.
that's right.
All right.
If it was important, it'll come up again.
That's right, it will.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right, well, this has been great. Thanks for sharing, and congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Great.
So
50 years, quite a long feat. What advice would you give for those out there that are aspiring to achieve that goal at some point in time, and some of the younger folks in the crowd?
Well, I think it's really important, particularly for a man, to learn how to surrender early, quickly, and gracefully, if at all possible. Because I've discovered that it doesn't matter where you are when the arguments begin, whether you're right or you're wrong, or she's right or she's wrong. What happens is the conversation is ultimately going to turn against you, and you're going to be found guilty, and you're going to be punished. And you see, I've learned that it doesn't matter. You're getting punished in the end. It doesn't matter where you started. you know.
So repent. Those are your, if you had one word of advice to give.
Repent with sincerity, and you know, things will be fine over the long run.
Any other advice? Any other lasting words for longevity?
Well, no, not really. Not that I can think of right now.
All right. All right. Thanks for the time.
Thanks,
Sure.
Ed.
Thanks.